Good afternoon. Welcome to the FTD University webinar titled Getting the Good, Dealing with the Ugly. Today you will learn the tricks and techniques of those who thrive with reviews, as well as ways to increase your good reviews and decrease your bad or unfair reviews. Rick Brewer, owner of Brewer Business Consulting, will be leading this informative webinar. Rick is no stranger to the wedding and event industry. Since 1992, he has worked with over 850 businesses one-on-one and helped them rise to the next level. In addition, Rick has spoken to thousands around the country and has become widely recognized as an expert in marketing and sales for weddings and events. Once Rick is finished with his presentation, we will open the webinar up for questions. If you have a question, simply type it in that question box on the upper right side of your screen. Please feel free to submit your questions during the presentation, and we'll be sure to hold them until the Q&A portion of the webinar. So without further ado, I'd like to turn the call over to Rick to begin the webinar. Rick?
Hi, thank you, Janet, and welcome everybody. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to this webinar. Hopefully we're going to give you some good information that will help you on the topic of reviews. Just to go over an outline for today, we're going to basically do an overview of review, history of reviews, the importance of good reviews, getting more of those good reviews, dealing with the sometimes bad reviews, and then setting the bars for reviews. So that said, let's just jump right in. With the review overview, I want to talk about the idea of why do reviews mean so much to us. And simply put, our businesses are our babies, and our babies are our life. We created them and we love them. We're so proud of them when they do something good, and we worry about them when they're not doing well. And so when somebody says something about our babies, it better be something good. And so our reviews mean a lot to us because they're talking to us personally as business owners. And sometimes our inner mama bear comes out to protect the integrity of our business, as it should. We should be proud of our businesses, and we should be very happy with the way that they're going. The thing is that the way that people shop nowadays has changed, and the way that people shop for what I call the infrequent purchases. We used to maybe pick up the yellow pages, and the advertisement that was the biggest had the most validity to them. They were the ones that we trusted the most. We called the big ads first, and then called down through the list. And sometimes we would listen to what our neighbor might say or our relatives might say who had somebody that they knew, liked, and trusted to do what you needed done. Other than that, the only place for bad reviews was really the Better Business Bureau. And if you think back to 20 years ago, how many of us would call up the Better Business Bureau before we made a purchase? And very rarely did we do that. That said, along came the internet and changed the way that we do business and the way that we purchase. If we look at a history of reviews, simply said, we used to just go off of thank you cards. That was the majority of reviews in business, as we know it, were through thank you cards. People would send us a thank you card for performing as we agreed that we would perform or exceeding those expectations we had set. Further, 3 websites came along back in about 1999. Rate It All came out first, then Deja.com, and then ePinions came along. And what happened is there was just a boom, and within just a few short months, they had millions of reviews on products and services, which kind of gave a hint and a nod towards what was going on and what would become in the internet. All of a sudden, the consumer had more power, and nowadays the power has shifted from the salesperson to the consumer. The consumer is all powerful because of the internet. They can find out what other people's experiences are, not to mention they can find out information on pricing and all kinds of fun things just at the touch of their fingertips. So along with that, though, was born the internet troll. And now everybody who had an opinion had a place for it. Unfortunately, there was those who felt like the world needed to hear everything that they had to say, and they were certainly saying it. Along with the good reviews came the unscrupulous ones, false reviews from friends or employees of competitors or former employees posing as customers and more. And so these internet trolls kind of tip the balance towards reviews. So sometimes if we get a bad review, we don't know if it's legit, and sometimes we know it's not legit. So because of all these false reviews, then became a part of the industry called reputation management, where people would fix the internet, and this was just a few short years ago, like about 7 years ago, where reputation management companies were going out left and right, being able to fix reviews and push them further down in the search engines and teach you how to not respond to them and how to respond properly so that you didn't get dinged even further on your SEO, to where when somebody did a search for your business, all the bad reviews came up first. In fact, when it comes to search engine optimization, the review sites became the go-to place for a lot of the algorithms, to the point to where bad reviews were being seen up there left and right, whether they were legit or not. So it really had this big false values that has since been changed. Now, I want to review the importance of good reviews, just for being thorough, for the sake of being thorough. We understand good reviews are good. Everybody gets that. But that said, we all love to hear people praise us. We all love to hear good things about us. It does our ego good, and it makes us feel good that we're going in the right direction with our business, which again, we work very hard on. Most of you are, as small business owners, haven't taken a proper vacation sometimes in years. And so you're living in your business. You're spending more time in your business than you are with your family. And so getting a good review gives us validation. And there's a rule that we can never have too many good reviews. Simply said, I've got hundreds of video testimonials, not with the hope that people are going to sit down and watch every single one of them and scrutinize them, but just for the fact that it's nice to have them all there for me. Having the most reviews nowadays is similar to 20 years ago having the biggest yellow page ad. So by having more reviews, it's only going to help your business when it's online. And again, if you're not online, then it's time to come into the 90s and get your reviews up there. Your good reviews are targeting a specific consumer, not the people who know, like, and trust you already, not the people who have bought from you, know what to expect, and know that you're going to do well. It's from the person who hasn't bought from you before, or perhaps people who don't buy what you sell frequently. In other words, the last time that you bought a car, you probably didn't look up the reviews if you bought it more than 5 years ago. But nowadays, we're going to look up the reviews on the dealership. We're going to find out what other people have experienced, and we're going to go into that car dealership armed and ready we're ready for bear when we're going in there now with those reviews. But these consumers are looking to trust, but they need a little bit of a nudge to take that first step. And the perfect nudge is not you telling them how great you are, but somebody else who was once in the position that they are, telling them that you can be trusted to do what you're going to do. So let's go on to getting more good reviews. Step number one, we need to decide where the best reviews should be. Now, I'm going to tell you, first off and foremost, your best reviews should be on Google. Why Google? Number one search engine in the world is Google, and they've maintained that position for years and years, and I suspect that they are going to continue to maintain that position. Doesn't mean that if you get a good review on Bing or on Yahoo or on Facebook that it's a bad thing. It just means that Google is the place where they should be, in my esteemed and educated opinion on this, because of the fact that, again, there are simple little things out there. For example, Google is put an emphasis on mobile, and you may or may not have noticed if you carry an Android phone, when you walk into a place, Google will recognize that you're in that place if it has a Google My Business listing, and it will ask you to put up pictures or to give them a review or to tell other people about it. It will ask you questions about that business. The reason why is because Android is far more popular than the iPhone series are. So they put, and Droid is Google based. But that said, again, put your reviews on Google so that you can get more Googles. Now, I mentioned something called Google My Business. And if you don't have a Google My Business account, I want you to go claim your Google My Business account. Now, this is something that's really cool, because what you do is you get on there and you probably most likely already have a Google account. You're just linking your business to that Google account. Now, Google will then send out a physical postcard to verify it, but then you can go ahead and hype up your Google My Business listing and then start pointing people there to get your reviews online with Google. And that's where you're going to be storing your Google reviews, is at your Google My Business listing. I'm going to leave this up here for just a couple more seconds. So if you want to write this down, again, it's google.com/mybusiness, or you can Google My Business, and you'll understand it when you see it. You probably have done searches. Let's pretend that you've searched for a plumber, and then you have certain people that come up on the map, on the Google Map listing, which goes above on the first page. That's a Google My Business listing. You want to load that listing up with plenty of pictures and your strong keywords that matter to you, again, to give you a little bit of SEO juice. Now, when you get more reviews on there, again, Google's putting reviews at a premium, and they're going to let people know about it. So Google My Business, good place to go. Now, if you're going the complete route with Google, I also want you to make sure that you have Google Analytics, because you need to measure what you're doing with all your Google stuff, all your online stuff. And it's as simple as this. If you measure it, you can manage it. Conversely, if you don't measure it, it is hard to manage it. And what Google Analytics does is it becomes one of the most complete measuring tools that you'll ever have. And the analytics that they provide, they're going to tell where people are coming from, where they're going to, so you can measure whether or not these reviews are actually helping you, working in your favor. And of course they do help you, and they help you in unseen ways and unseen manners. But I want you to get your Google Analytics account. Now, here's a little hint. I didn't create a slide for this, so you're going to want to write this down. If you don't have Google Analytics and you have somebody else managing your website for you, call them up and tell them to get a Google Analytics account put on your website, and they'll know how to do it. It's about a 5 or 10 minute job for somebody who's experienced. It's not hard. And all they're doing is they're putting a little, they call them urchins, they put these little codes that nobody can see in the backside of every page of your website, so then Google can then measure effectively. If you manage your own website and you don't know how to do it, simply go to a website called Fiverr, FIVERR.com, and then you'll be able to hire somebody to put that on your website for you. Again, very inexpensive, totally worth it, so that you can measure it, as long as you use it. Now, I've had clients who have hired me, and I tell them you want to get in a routine of measuring every week, because when you measure it, your numbers are going to simply increase. And without measuring it, they're just going to stay the same. You'll find ways to help those numbers increase. But if you get Google Analytics, you do everything that you're supposed to do, and then you don't measure it, then that's going to be a little bit challenging for you. The next step that I want you to pay attention to is make sure that you map out a good process for getting these good reviews. What a good process should look like is the process should begin before the sale even occurs. In other words, let me share with you one of the ways that I would suggest. If somebody's coming in to buy flowers from you, especially as long as it's not sympathy. Sympathy, it's going to be hard to get a good review until afterwards. So you may have to have different processes for different types of sales. But let's pretend that the flowers are going to be for a happy, good occasion. In that case, then I want you to plan on talking to them during the sales process that if you perform according to their expectations, would it be fair to ask for a review afterwards, because you'd like to do what you do for other people, and they would trust what the satisfied consumer has to say more than you, the business owner, has to say. Would you mind if I asked for that review afterwards, as long as we do everything that you expect? Most people are going to say, absolutely, go ahead. That'd be fine. Now, that said, you have to follow up with that. If you don't follow up and then ask for that review and make sure that you understand what their expectations are, then it's going to be hard. But the process doesn't have to be complex. It just needs to be. And you can write down your process and then start refining that process for getting more reviews. To begin your process, though, you need to know how many reviews you have out there, and then you want to know how many you want to get. And after you go through that process, then you can start forming what each step is along the way, and then plug that into your routine. Now, I don't expect this to magnify or change your business overnight, that you're going to have to spend all your time getting reviews, but as you start just asking for more reviews, you'll start getting more reviews. And as you start planning and then asking and then following through and sending emails, and your process starts becoming more refined because you figure out what works and what doesn't, then that's when it gets really fun. So the third step I want you to take is I want you to measure. Come back and look at it every month. How many reviews did you ask for? How many reviews did you deserve? And then how many reviews did you get? One little side note that I think is important for you to understand is that it's impossible to get 1,000%. In other words, if you think that you're going to do 100 weddings and you're going to get 100 fabulous reviews, even if you deserve them, it's not going to happen, because people are busy and people are people. They don't mean to be rude. They don't mean to be short-sighted or anything. They're just busy living their lives. So don't expect 100%, and find out how many you've gotten in the past. If you've done 300 weddings in the past and you've got 10 reviews, well, that's your baseline. Let's improve that. But let's shoot for 10 or 20% good reviews by setting in a good process. And once you set that process in and you start refining it, you're going to start seeing that percentage of good reviews jumping up to where you get to 30 and 40 and maybe even 50% will give you a good review. Again, measure what you know how to measure. Measure what your competition is doing. Keep an eye on the good competitors that are out there that are getting good reviews. And you know that they're not bogus reviews, by the way. One little side note, you can buy all the bogus reviews you want, but don't do that. That just breaks your integrity, and your business deserves so much more. And if you see somebody buying bogus reviews, don't let it get under your skin too much. Just know that it's a strategy that I have never, in my 25 plus years of doing this, I've never seen it work. So, there are people that would used to write up their own thank you cards. There are people that used to write up their own 5-star things on a sheet of paper and say that somebody did an awesome job when it was just totally bogus. I've only used my own reviews, and I've only used genuine, sincere reviews. And by the way, I didn't shy away from throwing in something that was a less than stellar review. On a scale of 1 to 5, if I got a 3, I would throw it in there because it made me look human. That it almost made it look too false by having 5-star reviews. So that brings up a point that I don't want you to get too stressed out when you get a bad review, but we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Now, step 4, once you get them, I want you to use them everywhere. I want you to use them on social media, whether you're on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're at. Use them like crazy. As long as you've got followers, I want those followers to see them. Don't pretend that you put it up there once 3 weeks ago and they're going to remember it. Change it up a little bit, though, and just have a routine for posting on a regular different times at different places. I want you to use it on your own website, of course. And where on your website? Every page should have a quote. And the quote only needs to be 1 sentence long. John did a great job for me. You should hire him. From Jen from Chicagoland. Or Barbara knocked it out of the park, and I can't believe how beautiful a job she did. I highly recommend her. From Lori in Rhode Island. So it doesn't need to be the complete quote. It just needs to be backed up. I've never had anybody, by the way, ask for my quote. Just, can I see verification of your quotes? Can I see verification of your reviews? Again, I'm just telling you, use integrity in every part of your business, and that you'll never go wrong doing the right thing in that regard. And then the third place, I want you to use it in every bit of your marketing. If you're using print advertising, if you're doing bridal shows, if you're using anything in the newspaper, you're using postcards, you're using brochures, put it on everywhere. This social proof is another word for reviews, good reviews, is social proof. It's proof that you do what you say you're going to do. And having the social proof, that's one of the big things that you've got to use. Also, I like to use a lot of video testimonials. So offer them something. Offer your good clients who love you, get a thank you card in the mail. You shouldn't just be tacking it up onto your wall. You should be giving them a call and saying, hey, I just got your thank you card. That was so kind of you. You guys were fun to work with. I'd like to offer you a free arrangement. Can you do me a favor and come say on video, I've just got my iPhone here, my phone, my cell phone, that I'd like to just take a quick video in the shop of you saying what's on the thank you card, because people love video and they like to look at it. Video has a lot of power. Now, with video, you've got the extra added place that you want to put them up on YouTube. And again, you want to get all the Google juice that you can. Number one search engine in the world, Google. Number two is YouTube. Who owns YouTube? Google. So it's all going to help you all the way along. So that said, use it everywhere in your marketing, everything that you can. Now, dealing with the bad reviews. As I mentioned, sometimes you get a review that's not so stellar. Sometimes people just don't perform as they hope that they would. And when that's the case, you might get a bad review. Sometimes you might get a bad review that's totally bogus and out there and not even legit. That said, there's ways to deal with it. Number one, don't overreact. As I said, when somebody says something bad about my kids and it's not deserved, I get a little bit steamed. I get a little bit ballistic on that, because I protect my babies. I protect my kids. But be careful not to overreact. And whatever you do, don't overreact online. If you start going off on somebody online, and that what's online stays online. But try not to let it rent space. They don't mean it personally. It's coming from their point of view, not your point of view. Number two, reach out to this person. Pick up the phone and call them and find out if you know who it is, even if you suspect who it is. Reach out and just say, hi, this is Rick. I wanted to call. I saw this review. I'm not sure if it's yours or not, but if it is, please tell me what I can do to make this better. Now, if they want a complete and total refund and they find no value in anything that you did, that's not going to work. And you know that that's not going to work. But by reaching out to them and saying, I'd like to make it better, is there something that we can find a meeting of the minds that would help? And maybe if I sent out Mother's Day flowers for you. What if I did this? What if I did that? You don't have to give the whole store. Sometimes just reaching out and apologizing and finding out, or they might have made a mistake that's in your favor, that they misunderstood something and say, no, that's not what we talked about, and this is why we did. I one time had a bride's mother call and complain about me, but she didn't understand that the bride had specifically asked for this thing to happen. And I wasn't going to not listen to the bride and take the bride's mother's over it. But the bride's mother complained. She sent me this nasty letter after the wedding. And I had to reach out and tell her, no, the bride specifically told me not to do that. I'm sorry. And we were caught up in the moment, and that's why I couldn't explain it at the time. But she was fine with it afterwards. But reach out to them. Do your best to just be human and reach out to them. Step number 3, if it's not legit, ask the host to remove it. Sometimes you can get them to be removed. Some places are very far-reaching and impersonal, such as Facebook or Google, that they don't have live people that you can just pick up the phone and say, hey, this is a bogus review from my lousy competitor. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask or you shouldn't try. Now, if they will not remove it, then I want you to reply to it. But I want you to respond with kindness and humanity, meaning that I'm very sorry for that you feel this way. We strive to serve all of our clients as best. If you would be so kind as to reach out to us, and let's see what we can do to resolve this. You don't have to make it sound like you don't have to go on the defensive, anything. You just need to make yourself, at the very least, look good online to any other suspecting clients that are reading that. Then they're going to perhaps say, well, sounds like somebody might have been unreasonable, and I'll still give them a call because they've got all these other good reviews. So that said, I don't want you to ever get in a war with people over it, because what stays online, what goes online stays online, and it's just bad. It's just bad karma. I think it's really a waste of your time to try to convince somebody by going back and forth. And anybody that has a problem with you that won't approach you about it, uh, again, if they're just going straight to the web to make their case known, they've got a touch of sociopathic behavior in them. So you got to be careful about that anyhow, because it's not going to go anywhere. So don't get in a war with them. It's not going to do you any good. I've never seen somebody say, you know what, I got in this great internet argument the other day and I won. I've never heard that. So just keep the warring to the side on that. So setting the bar for review, I want you to take a look at some of the following things that we should be doing. Number one, how many does your highest competitor have? When you do your website, your competitive analysis, and you're looking through everything, are they using social proof on their website? Do they have Google reviews? Do they even have a Google My Business listing? And find out exactly what you can about them so you can find out, is this bar high to set? Now, when I'm talking about your highest competitor, I'm talking about the competitor that you're bumping up against the most, not about somebody who is way on the other side of town and you're really not competing against them. I'm talking about the person that you're really bumping up against. Number two, I want you to realize how many you should have. If you've been in business for 15 years and you've got 5 reviews, we should have more. How many more? Well, that's kind of a personal thing. But again, as you start looking around through the web space, and I know that you can find a ton of reviews on a website called Wedding Wire, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. And I know that that's just weddings, and perhaps not all of you do a ton of weddings, but start looking around and look at the standard. When one person has 100 and another person has 2, and another person has 7, and another person has 10, maybe you don't go for the standard of 100, but maybe you go for the standard of 20 or 30. And know that you're going to stand up. And being in second place is still pretty good, because the average consumer is going to go through 3 or 4 people when they're buying an infrequent purchase. We were just taught that way. Back in the 50s, insurance companies figured out actuarial tables that they needed to find 3 or 4 comparative bids to fix problems or to purchase. And that's what our parents were taught, and they taught us the same thing. That when we're buying something, we go out and we go shop for 2 or 3 different places so we can have a good broad view. So if you're coming in number 2 as far as the number of reviews, or even number 3, you should be fine. You should be within the running, assuming that everything else is consistent. I just did a website review for a client the other day, and we were looking at top-rated websites around the country, and some of them were absolutely horrid and lousy. The one thing they were good at was they were good at search engine optimization, but they were lousy at making their websites visual and prominent and effective for their clients. They weren't looking at it from a client's point of view. So your client, your prospective client, wants to see reviews. They want to see from other people who have been in their shoes, and they want to hear what they have to say. Next, I want you to gamify it. So in other words, gamification is a great way to motivate yourself, to make it fun and to make it bearable and to make it less strenuous and less of a struggle for you. So if you want to go out and get 30 good reviews over the next year, for example, 2018, let's get 30 new reviews. What's a good reward if you get those 30 reviews? Or if you don't get them, what's a good punishment for you, that you're going to only eat fresh vegetables for a week? Or if you get 35, then you get to go out for dinner and dancing one night. Whatever it is, gamify it. Make it a little bit more interesting and more fun. But also, I want you to keep it what your goal is up on the board to where you see it on a daily basis, right over your desk, right in your office, right someplace where you know, I want 30 reviews. And when you get one, then you change it, 29 more reviews to go. When you get another one, and you just start counting down to where you know that by the time you hit September, if you've got 10 more reviews to go, you can do it and you can make it happen. It's just a great way to gamify. Gamification is a great way to motivate you and keep you actively involved, to where you're not doing a sprint when it comes to reviews, but you're doing more of the marathon and you're going in it for the long game. Once you get these reviews, you're going to be good to go. I mean, it's like you don't have to keep it going, but it's almost like those big on the playgrounds. Remember when we were growing up, they had those big metal contraptions that were merry-go-rounds, and it took forever to get them going. But then once you got them going, the momentum to keep them going at good speed, you just had to swat it with your hand and it would go. Reviews are the same way. And when you get reviews going, you're going to be very happy with them, and you'll know that that's one aspect of your marketing that you don't have to worry about any further. So that said, I'm not sure if we have any questions up there or not. Janet, have we had any questions that we can address for the crowd?
Yes, Rick, we do. And just want to say thanks for sharing. That was a lot of great information. Really enjoyed that. So as I mentioned earlier, we are open for questions now. So simply type that question in the box on the upper right side of your screen. Jonathan had a tip to share. He said they get a lot of donation requests, and they sometimes ask them to do a review on their business first before giving that. What's your opinion on that?
I have no problem with it. If you're giving away something, asking them to do something in exchange, have a little bit of skin in the game, there's nothing wrong with that. Most businesses get hit up by every donation that they can imagine. And I mean, it's like the high schools and this charity and the Cancer Society. There's 15 different cancer charities, and there's more and more charities coming every day. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for you to give back to the community. I love being involved with your community, and asking them to give you a nice review. That's not asking them to go out and dig ditches for you. That's a no-brainer. They should have no problem doing it. I think, Jonathan, that's a great tip. Bravo, well done.
Great. We've got a question from Lance. What's a good goal for reviews? Google, Yelp, etc.
Well, if you look at the totality of your business, it depends on the percentage of your business. If you're not getting reviews, then I want you to set that bar, I don't know, 5 or 10% of your business, assuming that you're doing a good job. Now, everybody thinks that their kid's the greatest kid, that their business is the greatest business, and that they can do no wrong. But if you're asking for reviews and you're consistently getting bad reviews, it also becomes a good barometer for you. Maybe we got to fix some things, because not that we're searching for bad reviews, but because of the fact that they're telling us honest feedback, and we don't need to agree with it or disagree with it. We just need to react to it and treat it for what it is. If they're consistently coming in and we know that they're legit. So a good bar to set, let's go for 10%. If we're doing 30 funerals over the next year, and again, sympathy is a hard game to play, because it's hard to ask for somebody, except you just can send them a thank you card. Thank you for your business. We're sorry that we had to meet this way, but perhaps if there's anything that we could do better or improve, we just wanted to know that we care about you and your family, and leave it at that. But as far as weddings, again, set the bar early in the game, to where you have that process that we talked about earlier. You remember the process, to where we are asking for the review at the point of when they're selling, when they're signing the contract. Now, and it can be as simple as this. If we do everything that you expect us to do, would you mind if we asked you for a review at the end of it, where we'll send you a link and then you can go and review us? Would you mind doing that? No, I wouldn't mind at all. Of course I wouldn't mind. Again, anybody who's doing what they say they're going to do, consumers are scared that they're going to get ripped off, and they don't want to be ripped off. At this point, typically flowers are a celebration, whether they're a celebration of life, of marriage, for new babies, wishing somebody better health, etc. They're a celebration, and when you're selling this celebration, they should be all right with giving you a review when you do what you say you're going to do. So shoot for 10% to begin with, and then start raising your bar from there. But measure, measure, measure. Once you measure everything, then you'll know what's going on. At the end of the year, all you need is a small notebook with notes in it about who you sent out review requests to, and go from there.
Great, thank you so much. We've got a question. We got a few more questions. Jonathan said, people give you a bad review. You fix their problem in spades. You know, even like a full refund, new flowers, etc., and they don't change their bad review. They let it stand. What would you do?
Most reviews will let you respond to them as the business owner. Then I would respond with, I'm very sorry that you're not happy. We did everything we possibly could to fix your problem, anything that's reasonable, and then we went even further from that to into the bounds of fixing this problem being unreasonable. And I'm sorry that you're still not satisfied with this, but I guess it just goes to show that sometimes you can't satisfy everybody or fix every problem. I wish you well in the future, and leave it at that. Sometimes you're not going to be able to fix everything, and like I said, sometimes you get these internet trolls that they feel that that's their great power in life. I wish that we could wave our magic wand and make these trolls disappear, but not everybody's going to be reasonable. As you know, being in business, you can do everything perfectly, and then they look at you and say, meh. You know, but you did everything that they expected and then some, and you went above and beyond. So not all of these are going to be able to be fixed, but if you can't respond to it, just be ready to answer any questions about it. Make sure that your staff understands it in case somebody does ask you about it. Most people aren't going to ask you about it, but again, you do everything that you can to make it right. And like I said, you'll never go wrong doing the right thing. In business, that is the motto, that is the credo. There's a number from the Small Business Administration, Janet, that says that 9.5 businesses will never see their 5th birthday. They're either going to shut down, run out of business, run out of money, whatever. And so when you stay in business, you will stay in business longer just by doing the right thing. I'm going to assume that most of you do what you do because you love to do it. And if that's the case, then doing the right thing will make you will get into your head a little bit more and make it a lot more fun and a lot more tolerable for when you get the trolls coming through.
All right, we've got another question from Carol. How does she contact Facebook to delete an old negative review?
Oh, that's a great question, because like I said, some of these places are run without people, even though that you know that out in Mountain View, California, that they've got buildings and buildings filled with people. There's been a couple times where I've tried to contact Facebook over different things, and it just doesn't happen. Facebook is one of those anomalies where they have set up their business to be pretty much remote from human contact. So that's going to be a hard one, getting through to Facebook. And that's where if they put a bad review up, then the best that you can do is go ahead and try to respond to it. Now, I'm not sure if they've changed that that feature. Used to be that you, the business owner, if they went to your page to to your fan page to leave a bad review, that you could respond to it. And I haven't checked that out in a while. And if anybody knows the answer to that, please type it in and let me know. But I believe that you can still respond to that. And as I said, always respond with kindness. And when you respond with the kindness and with the humanity to it, saying, if you screwed up and you say, we're very sorry that we didn't meet your expectations, please give us a call so that we can see what we can do to make this right. You're trying to take it offline and get their focus away from that, because you don't want them to continue trolling. But as you do that and they call you, I mean, it's like, don't offer them a 5% discount for any future purchases over $500. Do something that's reasonable, and a little bit, you might have to lose a little bit of money, but it's like, do what's right. And just, as I said, doing the right thing never gets old.
All right, we've got a question from Kime. There's a little bit of a lead up into the question, so bear with me. You had said, Rick, earlier that one cannot have enough positive reviews, and he read recently in Floral Management magazine from the Society of American Florists that a merchant who has only positive reviews, like a solid 5 out of 5, is viewed with suspicion. One that, no one's that good to get only A pluses and that. But on the other hand, someone with 4.2 is viewed as more realistic. In fact, they had said in the article that 4.2 is an ideal number. So he's wondering, are you saying that you should strive for a 5, or you want to try to maintain just the 4.2, 4.5?
No, I think I mentioned that before. If you get a bad review, it's not going to kill you, so long as if you've got 40 5-star reviews and one a half-star review, and the guy is just a real jerk about it, and it will be obvious that he's a jerk. Most times when you're getting reviews, I want you to try to get them to be as personal as possible. Even sometimes you can suggest what to say. I used to do that when I got my video reviews. I'd say, all right, just speak into the camera and just say some positive things from your heart of what you sincerely feel, such as Rick did a great job. We loved every bit of working with Rick, and we hope if you're looking for somebody to work with your business, Rick's your guy. And then, but from the heart, say it from the heart. And that way they would almost say verbatim what I told them most times. Now, if you do have all 5-star reviews and you've got 70 of them, as long as they're personal, you're going to be all right. But they are correct. If you've got a 4.2, 4.5 rating out of 5 stars, you're still going to be great, because of the fact that it makes you look human and it's not quite so real, and you are a real business. So there are people out there who have thousands of reviews, and anybody who has a 5-star rating out of thousands of reviews, I haven't seen it yet. You're always going to get one person that is going to rate you down. And I'll give you an example. I wrote a book called The Sales Bird, and I asked those who bought it, and I had a bunch of my friends. I sold it to them at cost, so it didn't cost them that much. But I asked them, I said, now that you bought it, would you go onto Amazon and review it? And one of my dearest friends gave me a 4 out of 5-star review. And I'm like, what are you doing? But it made it look more real. When I got done, I looked at it, and it didn't look bad. So by having that 4-star review there, he actually did me a favor. Now, he's not getting any more discounts, but that's that's a side story. So that said, you are absolutely right. 4.2, 4.3 is fine and wonderful. And when I say you can never have too many good reviews, I'm talking about the quantity of them. And again, I'm not asking for perfection on all of your reviews. Perfection's a real hard standard to fit, especially when it comes from somebody else writing up their opinions about you.
All right, thanks. Alex said she's been a florist for 18 years, and she has past clients who she's never asked for reviews. How long is too long before she shouldn't ask for a review?
Oh, that's a great question, and I want to share my experience. I've been in the wedding industry for around 5 years, and then I went to this business seminar, and they said you should be getting reviews and sharing them with your clients. So I went back to all my clients for the previous 5 years, and I sent them out a nice little letter with return postage and everything else. Number one, most of them didn't even respond, even though when I performed for their wedding, they thought I was the bee's knees. They loved me. They couldn't say enough about me, gave me tips, kisses on the cheek, all that stuff. But then I found out that the further away from the point of highest satisfaction they were, the more critical they got. And so you want to get your reviews as close as you can. But if you've got some raving fans, and we all do, we've got people that we know that 20 years from now, they're still going to say nice things about us because, number one, they're nice people, but number two, they really had that good of an experience. You know who those people are. Ask them for a review and see but give them a call. The further out they are, and I'm talking if they're more than 3 months out, then I want you to give them a call first and say, hey, I was listening to this business guy, and he told me that in marketing, one of the best things that we can do to help find future clients and help them be happy was to go back to our old clients who were happy and have them say some nice things about them. Would you mind coming into the shop and maybe saying some things on video, and then I'll give you some flowers just for coming down, pay for your time. Would you be all right with that? That's a good way to control the process to where they're coming in and they're going to be happy to get something, so they're going to say something nice about you. So it's kind of like a legal bribe. But that said, if it's too far out, they might not even remember you, unfortunately. But those raving fans, go ahead and ask them. Try to get them as soon as you can, and that becomes part of the process that we were talking about. When you have your process tuned up really well, it's going to fire like clockwork.
All right, thanks. Cindy said she had a competitor put up a bad review on her wedding wire account. Can she get that removed?
Sometimes I do know that wedding wire, sometimes they will remove it. They have a standard, I think, that you have to leave 2 or 3 reviews before any of them get published. And so if it's a bogus competitor that they're just being a jerk about it, call them up and say, listen, this is we didn't even do that wedding. This is a totally bogus review. Please help me. And you've got to go through a process with them. They are slow to remove reviews because they'd rather almost have a false bad review stay up there than get a false good review that gets taken down. They are just a little bit fanatical about the reviews. But I think personally, I think that the reviews are what have made most of these websites really, really punch and really give them some good staying power for their clients because brides trust other brides more than they trust a salesman, and unfortunately, they don't know us, so they think that we're a salesman. So contact your rep for Wedding Wire and ask them about that process. Just tell them it's a totally bogus review. That's your jerky competitor. Give them your name. Give them the name of your competitor if you suspect you know who it is, Cindy, and they'll tell you what the process is. Again, stick with the process. It's worth it to get it removed when they're bogus.
All right, thanks, Rick. It looks like we are out of questions for today then. We just want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. If you missed a portion of the webinar or would like to view it again, a replay will be available on the FTD Mercury Network Florist YouTube channel later this week, and the webinar materials are available at ftdi.com. As always, we'll send you a very brief survey to gather your feedback on the webinar, so we'd ask please just take a minute to complete the survey and help us improve future webinars and other education programs for you. As we flip the calendar to 2018, our next FTD webinar is scheduled for Tuesday, January 23rd. FTD education consultant J. Keith White, AIFD, will share the hot new color palettes and key elements of the American Floral Trends forecast for 2018-2019. Please don't miss this opportunity to discover how to turn trends into traffic in your shop. Registration will be available soon at ftdi.com, so be sure to register to reserve your spot. Again, thanks, Rick, for sharing a lot of great information on how to increase our good reviews, decrease our bad or unfair reviews. Just want to thank everyone again for attending. This concludes FTD's webinar, Getting the Good, Dealing with the Ugly. Thank you.